Souls are prisoners of darkness, and they must fight to recover their original destiny, abandoning the body that imprisons them. For the Cathars, all of material reality, including their physical bodies, were seen as a prison, caging their pure spiritual essence. They aimed to leave this world forever and return to paradise, believing that anyone who failed would be doomed to repeated reincarnations. Their solution was a sacred rite known as the Consolamentum, which was the cornerstone of Catharism. This ritual could only be performed by Cathar priests known as perfecti, who were pairs of one man and one woman that lived together according to a strict set of rules. The perfecti took vows of poverty, pacifism, vegetarianism, and antinatalism. Since they viewed all of material reality as evil, childbirth was discouraged and seen as a sin that condemned souls to be trapped in the reincarnation cycle. The last step to becoming a perfecti was completing the Consolamentum ceremony and living a sinless life according to their vows until death, which they believed would allow them to return to heaven. Regular Cathars, known as credentes, also had the opportunity to perform the Consolamentum once during their lifetime, but since the vows were so sacred and irreversible, most would only do so on their deathbeds, often refusing food and water afterwards. The Consolamentum washed away their sins, but bound them by oath to pure principles thereafter, so performing the ritual late in life was actually advised, making it easier to live one's last days in a sinless state. It was deemed the baptism of Holy Spirit by fire, like the Pentecost, considered the real teaching of Christ, that was supposed to remove all sin once the ceremony concluded. As mentioned earlier, once you had a Consolamentum ceremony, you could not have another, because after completing the ceremony, one could no longer sin. Most would have this ceremony as death was approaching, for the likelihood of further sin was greatly reduced. Only perfecti could administer the Consolamentum, and from what has been preserved, it seems amazingly simple. It included the reading of several biblical passages with a focus on the Gospel of John and the Lord's Prayer, many calls for the good God to remove all sin, and ended with an experience referred to as the laying of hands upon the person. The Cathars held as their main belief that this was a world created by an evil god, Rex Mundi, who kept them in a reincarnation cycle, and their only focus in this life was to escape it. The Cathars were not concerned with making this place better, finding new forms of government or commerce or anything else. Their focus was to escape the evil realm of the Rex Mundi forever and return home to the Father. The Cathars had no fear of going to hell after death because they felt that the only hell that existed was this material realm. Reincarnation was the fear, for it is what would force them back into a body, and therefore back into hell.